Nigeria's petroleum industry bill appears to be gaining traction following its first reading on the floor of the Senate last week after President Muhammadu Buhari sent the bill to the National Assembly for examination and passage. But the unsuccessful passage of the bill, which is estimated to have cost 3 trillion naira loss annually to the country, remains key to the development and the unlocking of potentials in Nigeria's oil and gas industry. But the question is, how much of a difference this current bill brings to the table enough to scale the previous hurdles militating against the passage of the PIB? Well, joining us now to answer these questions would be the head of gas and Econde Energy, Chichi Emenike, who will be joining us in a second. But let's just do a quick recap again of crude oil prices. Of course, we told you that they were up today, and that was boosted by the comments coming from the U.S. That's the doctors treating U.S. President Donald Trump, and they're suggesting that he may just be discharged from hospital quite soon. And that's just a few days after his positive test for COVID-19 sparked widespread alarm, with health updates eased the political uncertainty in the global markets, pushing Brent crude up $39.69 a barrel, up 1.48%, and U.S. WTI crude was seen at $37.69 a barrel, up 1.73%. We had seen prices slump more than 4% on Friday amid uncertainty surrounding Trump's health, and that has added to concerns that rising coronavirus case numbers could dampen global economic recovery. We also saw prices being supported by an expanding workers' strike in Norway on Monday, and that could reduce the country's production capacity by as much as 330,000 barrels of oil, and that's equivalent per day to about 8% of its output, and that's coming from the Norwegian Oil and Gas Association. Let's get into our conversation now with the head of Gas and Econde Energy Limited, talking about the petroleum industry bill. Good morning, Mr. Chichi Emenike. Good morning. Thank you for joining us on the program. All right, let's get into the conversation right away. Tell us how reassuring it is that's this new journey to the passage of the petroleum industry bill to operators like you in the oil and gas industry. All right, so we seem to be having issues connecting with Chichi Emenike. We're hoping that we could get that sorted out in just a moment. But then we'll have to do a recap of the markets again, and we expect. Okay.
14.
It's looking like we have. It's looking like we have Chichi Emenike join us now. Chichi, can you hear me?
And then passcode 4.
All right, Chichi, good morning. I was just asking you to tell us how reassuring is this new journey to the passage of the petroleum industry bill to operators like you in the oil and gas industry.
BC, can you hear me?
Very well, Chichi.
Okay, good morning. All right, thank you, BC. Thank you very much for that question. With the current discussion on the passage of the PIB is a very good one. We like the body language of the government. Things seem to be moving. I mean, this is a journey of about 20 years. We have been at this for about a decade. This is since the year 2000. But it seems with the recent happenings around the world with COVID, and then the government realizing that we just cannot continue this way. So they have put, more attention on this. At least for what we hear, it has passed first reading, and so we expect a whole lot of success. And hopefully, this should encourage more investment in the oil and gas industry. This has been long ongoing. We just can't continue like this. So yeah, it's something that is really good and very welcome.
Now, when you look at the bill, of course, there's some reviews which have been in the last 20 years with attempts to reform the petroleum industry, and it has spent 12 years at the National Assembly. So how much of the disagreements in the past have been resolved in this bill, and what makes it different this time around?
So there's been a lot of engagement. The truth is, there's been a lot of engagement with technocrats, with industry experts. There have been issues of disagreement. I think at the last check, it's about 96 issues. So with where we are currently, 77 have been totally resolved. We've got clarification on about 19. With the current PIB, it seems there's more focus and acceleration for economic growth. And it is long overdue. This is just an issue that has just been stifling business. So with what we are seeing now, there's more focus for transparency, accountability. We even see a focus on gas. And if you look at the peculiarities of doing business in Nigeria, these are some of this is a bill that just has to, has to come to fore. It's the very fundamental, the legal framework for any sort of country. I mean, look at Angola, look at Ghana, different countries in Africa. They have gone in place to put in place, fiscals that are clearer. And, this talk about fiscals in Nigeria is one big topic. But with what we've seen now, there's been more engagement, and hopefully we shouldn't have too many issues getting this passed. Like I said, I understand it's even gone, scaled first reading.
Well, then you talked about the fact that 77 issues out of 96 have been looked at this time around. So what happens to the remaining issues?
Well, there are some clarifications that have been provided. So those clarifications obviously are areas for more engagement. We'll probably get more people into the room. As you do know, this entire bill was a single document. It was broken down into 4 parts. So you've got the bill on administration, you've got the bill for fiscal, you've got the bill for the host communities, and what's the last one? I can't remember it now, but there are 4 of them. And like I said, with 77 out of 97, that's quite a number. I mean, these are rules surrounding business. So what we hope is probably more engagement, and then probably a final closeout.
But then what would be the reaction of international oil and gas companies to the fiscal and taxation provisions in the bill, and that, of course, that of the host communities in relation to their benefits from the PIB of 2020?
Okay, so what we see, and I would like to talk to this from the angle of doing business in Nigeria, the ease of doing business in Nigeria. So with what the IOCs have always, talked about, had been around a lot of taxes, multiplicity of agencies. But with the fiscals, we are hoping with the current fiscals we have in the bill, we should have some improvement. So now the 2019 offshore reform, took place in November 2019, and then what we have was royalties going from 0 to 10%. But with this, we see better terms, fiscal terms. Like I said, we don't have one of the most attractive fiscal terms here in Nigeria. The terms we have here, if you put it side by side with the ease of doing business, with security issues, cost of production. So for us in Nigeria, cost of production is anywhere between $16 to $22 per barrel. When you look at that and you look at the fiscal, sometimes we need to even apply them as per projects, peculiarity of projects. You apply some of those royalties on some of the projects and automatically they become non-profitable. So with the hope that this PIB is going to address that, the fiscals especially. No business is the what's called the Red Cross. Nobody does this for charity. So we're hoping with this PIB, we get the IOCs to look inwards, look towards Nigeria, try to put in place more investment. Currently, what we have seen is capital is currently constrained. COVID brought a lot of issues. So wherever capital is coming from now, it takes a second look. And capital only goes to where you have greatest returns. So we're hoping with this, we can have more attractive, the way you look at it is we haven't been sending the right signals as a country. Okay, so hopefully with better fiscals, you can have the IOC look at different projects they can bring up to speed. And like I said, there's also the gas angle. For us, gas is very important. we look at the energy security for us as a nation, it's something we have to address. We're a nation of over 200 million people. Our population growth, I think, as our last check, is about 2.8% a year. Where is the energy mix to support that? Okay, so these are the things we're hoping, that works for us with the advent or passage of this PIB.
I'm glad you talked about the gas now. Of course, you're a major player in that side. Of course, this PIB has a framework for gas tariffs and delivery with a view to push companies into gas discoveries and development. So tell us, how significant and timely is this provision of the bill?
So with gas, what you see is more gas utilization, more focus on gas. So we want to even commend the government. The current government has put a lot of focus on gas. The minister has said 2020 is the year of gas. We've seen projects, major gas projects like the AKK come on stream. The physicals for gas business is more attractive in this PIB. For us, there are also issues that have been addressed around gas pricing, royalties, taxes. Those are terms that investors have been looking forward to. For us, gas pricing, even the issues around the power sector can be sorted out with this gas industry. So there's encouragement for outright gas development. Now, for most of us don't know, Nigeria is more of a gas nation and a crude nation. What the gas have now is mostly associated gas, and most of the main gas is still trapped in the ground. And you need money to bring that gas upstream. You need to bring money you need investments to bring the gas to the wellhead and then take care of the mid and downstream. So there are attempts we have in the current PIB, like I said, that encourage investment for gas, and also speaking to gas pricing that is attractive. It also encourages, what we say in the gas industry, the willing buyer, willing seller kind of situation, pricing that is driven by market realities. Once again, I say this, nobody does business for free. So ultimately, the numbers have to make sense.
Now, one key aspect of the PIB 2020 is the substitution of the NNPC with the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited. Of course, the difference is that the NNPC is created via an act of parliament, and the NNPCL will be a registered limited liability company with the Corporate Affairs Commission, and then subsequently the establishment of two other regulatory agencies for the various streams of the industry. What will this unbundling mean for the industry?
So unbundling for us, really, an unbundling of NNPC, to be specific, is going to bring more efficiency. Is going to create a profit-driven business. NNPC, as it is not sustainable. All right, even the current corporate culture does not work. What you will have is, we see situations where you see the same government in some cases as a partner and the same government as a regulator. What is happening or what is proposed in the PIB, what you should see is the removal of that monopoly. All right, you bring in investors. Government can own shares in it, but you bring in investors who will drive it as a business for results-driven business. If you take a look at the PIB, it says the limited liability company is supposed to be formed in about 6 months, and then take another 24 for a review of the liability, the assets, and so on and so forth, and then an eventual, an eventual set-off to investors. So for us, unbundling of NNPC is important, and even with the creation of the regulator. So now what you see in Nigeria is so much focused on the upstream. We need to begin to create an entire value chain that works for the industry, the mid and the downstream, and even position Nigeria in the region as, create energy security for the region. So for us, the unbundling of the NNPC just has to happen so that, our national oil company makes sense. Take a look at national oil companies all around the world, in Saudi Arabia and other places. It's high time, we get serious with business. So for us, this is what it means.
Then you see this as a welcome development, but it doesn't seem there's a timeline till the cessation of the NNPC. Should that be some source of concern?
So what I just said is, if you take a look at the PIB, there is a form of the timeline. So you've got 6 months for the creation of the limited liability company, and then you've got another 24 months for the whole process, review of the liabilities, the assets, and so on and so forth to take place. So there is a kind of timeline. It's not an open-ended process. It's something that has timelines, and hopefully we can work, and achieve that plus or minus within, the time frame that is being referred to.
But then, if the bill is eventually passed now, what are the chances that the NNPCL has to compete internationally with the likes of Saudi Aramco, the PDSA of Venezuela, and even Petrobras of Brazil, for instance?
Well, like I think I've sort of spoken to this before. With us setting up our national oil company as a proper business, you have investors coming in and now focusing on investments that can be used for more asset development, more energy production, more drive for business, profit-oriented business. And in that regard, funny enough, we can't even begin to look at assets outside Nigeria, because you now have it in the hands of investors. So these days we speak about investors who are more interested in value-driven projects, not merely around volumes. So you see, for all the volumes and reserves we have in Nigeria, funny enough, you have investors looking at countries like Ghana, Egypt, Angola, that have smaller reserves than we do. But when you position an oil company that comes as a business who is profit-oriented to generate results, even the work culture changes. And then you see across board, driven by goals and targets that move ultimately to drive the vision, and that is for a profit-oriented environment.
Now, at the end of the day, many will want to know how the economy in general will benefit from this bill when eventually passed and assented.
So if we have the industry operating at optimal, I mean, it's the multiplier effect, even on your macroeconomic indices. It's across board. This is more like the 3 A's of energy, like we say: affordability, accessibility, and what's the third one? I can't remember it now. But what we have is even the sectors like the power sectors, the unbundling of it. You have more. For instance, even you bring it to the gas side of things. So with the PIB like this, you have a focus on on gas, not just a crude-driven business. Before, we have talked so much. I mean, crude is outdated. The world has moved ahead. You're talking of cleaner energy. You're talking of renewables. So with the passage of this PIB, what we have is energy security that can support the country, that can support the economy. And if you take a look at the PIB now, you see that it seems the government is more interested in driving value than really revenue or profit, and which is the kind of incentives and the kind of body language that investors are looking for. So, like I said, with this, we expect more. We expect just an unbundling of entire economy and business environment.
Head of Gas at Nikonde Energy Limited, Chichi Emenike, thank you for speaking with us this morning.
Thank you very much, BC. It was my pleasure.